Hello, I'm Bob Ganzak. Welcome to MotivationU, the podcast. Welcome to MotivationU, the podcast. From Spurrier's Gridiron Grill inside the Coach's Podcast Room, my name is Bob Ganzak. I'll introduce my guests in a second. Just want to share with you that we do have some Dale Carnegie classes that are going on the schedule right now for Lake City and for Valdosta. So the Lake City one begins December 8th and probably will be held at the Holiday Inn in Lake City. And then Valdosta, I think that one starts a little later in December. I don't know the exact date, but you can go to jacksonville.dalecarnegie.com to find that out. And let's get to our guest today. Hannah Levesque.
Yes.
Brooke Meng.
Yes.
From Drummon Bank, formerly Drummon Bank, still Drummon Bank.
Yeah.
I met Brooke and Hannah while I was giving a talk at Leadership Lake City.
Yep.
And I thought it would be interesting to get their point of view on leadership, because this program is about leadership.
Right.
And one of our philosophies at MotivationU is that you don't have to have some big name in order to be a great leader. You can be, the person down the street, bank manager, Dollar General, whatever it is, makes an impact on people's lives. And so we want to find out what happens in the banking industry as far as leadership. So that is why we are here today.
Yep.
So Hannah, tell us a little bit about yourself. What is your role at Drummond Bank?
I am a customer relations manager in Lake City at Drummond. I, as of right now, oversee all of the teller and customer service for 3 branches in Lake City. So I've been doing this a little over a year. I've been with the bank in total 5 years now.
5 years.
So we're doing good. We're doing
Awesome.
good, yeah.
And you are a Lake City resident?
Yes, I'm born and raised in Lake City. I've been there for all of 28 years now. So, yes, and we'll probably be there for a good amount of time in the future. So,
Awesome.
Yep, I'm married. I've got 2 small boys, 5 and 1, and one just started kindergarten, so I've got a pretty busy schedule.
So you're balancing all of those things
Yes.
also about.
Yes, it's a juggle. That's for sure. Yeah.
Awesome. And Brooke, what is your role at Drummond?
Currently, I am a commercial lender. I have been with Drummond for 5 years. I've been in banking for about 12 and a half years. So I do everything from commercial loans, personal loans, equipment loans, real estate loans, a little bit of everything. If it's not something that I can do, then I can, refer you off to somebody that can.
Who can find that out?
So I love it. I've, loved being in the banking industry. I've definitely learned a lot about leadership from the Leadership Lake City program. And, I've learned that, like you said, it doesn't take, a quote manager to be a leader. It can be really anybody as long as you have that mindset. So
I noticed that you mentioned when you were introducing yourself currently in this role. Do you have aspirations to do other things within the industry, or?
well, I mean, we're just kind of in a little bit of a transition period right now. So I think our roles will be changing a little bit. So whereas right now I don't have any direct reports to me. That may be changing in the near future. It's kind of still a little bit up in the air. And
Hannah, you mentioned that tellers. That's almost in the banking industry. It seems like a gone by position. Coincidentally, Andrew, who's general manager of Spurrier's Gridiron Grill.
Right.
He and I were talking before you two got here, and he was talking to me about how you just, banking's all online almost now, that you don't even have tellers to go to. And what has that transition been like in your role to like shrinking down the amount of tellers that are at a bank?
Well, we still have those customers who, they're still those people who like the face-to-face contact. So we do have a lot of foot traffic. A lot of the younger customers do like the online banking, and we really a lot of people have said, you don't ever really step foot into a bank unless you have an issue, so but we still do have a lot of the foot traffic. And in my role, it's from the very beginning, the start of hire, the training for them. There's a lot that goes into banking. It's not just, counting your money into the computer, so that's kind of what, and I lean on a lot of people like Brooke, my supervisor, and, for, I've only been in this position for about a year or so. So it's, it takes a village really. Mm-hmm. So we all just kind of work together.
What was that process like when you went through that, what bank was it that you were working for that purchased Hannah's bank?
Drummond acquired People's about 3 or 4 years
2018,
ago.
I wanna say.
Yeah.
And you were with Drummond.
Correct.
And you
And
were
I was with People's State Bank. Yes.
People's State Bank. So for you, in the acquiring process, what was that like?
It's always, change is always an adjustment. No matter what position you're in, it's always, something that disrupts the process of, your normal day-to-day, functioning. So no matter what position or role you're in, whether you're, the inside or the outside or however it is, it's something that you kind of have to just adjust to. So I think for everybody it was an adjustment, but I think as long as you go into that adjustment and that change with a mindset that's positive, it's, it's smooth. And
How did leadership break it to you that you were purchasing another bank? Because Drummond is a local organization out of Chiefland, right? Mr. Drummond started the bank, and how did they break that message to you that you were acquiring a new bank?
It was a bank-wide conference call that was, like I said, throughout the whole bank, and it was the whole top leadership team, and they distributed it to us, the positive news that there was this positive change coming, and let us know that everybody was there for us, with any questions, concerns, and
Wow. All right.
so it was comforting, and
They presented it in a way that was positive and
Right.
good.
correct.
instead of-
Yeah, it wasn't a scary change. It was something that was,
Well, usually when somebody overtakes somebody else, it's not like they're going to keep their management in place and replace your job.
right.
The nervousness is on the, when Pac-Man comes in and starts eating
Right.
things up. The nervousness is on the side that's getting eaten up.
Yeah.
So what was that like for you and your team?
It was scary for as far as People's State Bank and Drummond. A lot of us had never been through that before. I was working for the bank maybe 2 years, before they said that we were going to merge with Drummond, and we really didn't know what to look for though. So it was just kind of like we were all nerve-wracked, really. We were, but everybody came in with, we had great leaders with Drummond come in, introduce themselves, gave us their contact information, let us know that they were there. When we first merged, and there was that first week or two of, we're on their system, we're doing this, we had a bunch of people at each branch. There were only 2 branches with People's State Bank. So, but we had a lot of support, so that gave us a lot of comfort. And like I said, we really didn't know what to expect, so we just kind of went with the flow, and did what we were supposed to do, and it worked out. It worked
That's
out.
good.
So yeah.
Who was the president of People's State?
Robin Green.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He approached me about doing some programs for you during the transition. And I'd met with him for quite a few times, and we were just never able to put it together. I don't know whatever fell apart in that area.
Yeah.
But it was funny to, I don't know if you had known yet when he first told me that they were going to go through a buyout. I don't know if the staff had known yet. I think it was a private conversation that he and I had. I never repeated it, of course, but that was interesting. I remember that time, not knowing that you guys were doing gobbling up.
Right.
Going
And a lot of it is, they let you know months ahead of time. So, you've got this news, and then you're like in limbo waiting, for the actual transition to really happen. So you're like, I've got all of these questions, like what do we do, what to expect, and things like that. So I feel like they did a good job, and they put us at ease. So
now the 2 of you together
Yeah.
are going through the same process
Yeah.
again with another bank, whereas you're being purchased by somebody else. What has that process been like for you? Because Hannah's already been through it. What have been some of the fears and the maybe insecurities that you've had about that?
Again, everybody's really done a good job of assuring us that, there'll be minimal changes. Seacoast has a lot of the same cultural alignments that Drummond has. So I think Drummond and Seacoast mesh very well together as far as that's concerned. So I think ultimately our customers and our employees will have a lot of this, more opportunities.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of benefits. So I think, whereas there is uncertainty about certain things and just, change, there's been a lot of assurance and, just they've done a good job about assuring us and, helping us through the process. So there has been scary times just because it is change, but it's been okay.
Yeah. They've been very vocal with, let us know if you need anything, we're here for you. If you have any questions, this is my contact. They've been very, it's very comforting. It's very comforting.
So we're talking leadership, banking, business, fears with Hannah Levesque, Brooke Meng from Drummond Bank. And where is Seacoast? Where are they centered out of?
They're centered out of Stuart, Florida.
And they have branches throughout the state, or?
Oh, yeah. I think the Drummonds, after acquiring the Drummond branches, were the furthest north.
Okay.
They're definitely Stuart, Okeechobee, a bunch of places down south. I don't really know the names, so I don't want to misspeak. But
that's okay.
Yeah, they're down south.
Will there be one in Gainesville here, or?
Yes.
There is a Drummond Bank here that will be purchased?
There are 2, yeah. There's one on 37th Boulevard that they just recently finished building, I want to say the beginning of last year. And then there's one on University.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yep.
That's interesting. And will they bring somebody in here to run this region, or will you just have branch managers?
I think a lot of that's still, the structure's still kind of to be determined.
That's fascinating. What are you looking forward to having the new company take over? What is there changes that they've promised, or what are some things that maybe you can reveal to the public that they're going to see as people that come to Drummond Bank now?
I think just the products and services that will be expanding is really, what I think is going to benefit our customers.
They have a lot to offer.
How did you get into the banking business? I mean, what was it? Did you go to college for it? How did you get involved, Hannah?
I started working at Save-A-Lot in Lake City. I was a cashier at Save-A-Lot for about 2.5 years, and I was working every weekend, and I just wanted that. I want that Monday through Friday. I want to be off on the weekends, on holidays and stuff. And honestly, I just went putting them in my applications around a bank because I was like, I've got the cash handling experience, I've got the customer service, so I think that it would be a good fit. And originally I was hired on at Columbia Bank in Lake City, and they took a chance on me in 2013, I want to say. And I've just been doing it ever since.
Yeah, banker's hours, right? You
Yeah,
like that?
that's right. That's right. That Monday through Friday holiday.
Transparency. She is like
Yeah.
so honest. It's great.
That is what I was looking for. I was looking for it because they were closed 2 holidays. I think Christmas and Thanksgiving or Christmas and Easter or something. And I was like, I want my weekends off, and what better place? I've got a little bit of experience with cash and things like that. So that's where I started.
What education have they given to you over the years to help you advance?
Well, there are a lot of training programs and everything within the bank, and every bank is required to take compliance courses and things like that. So that helps us further. And then in-house training and your managers who have all kinds of experience, you can always learn from them. So I personally don't have any degrees under my belt as far as that goes, but there's a lot to learn, and I feel like internally they've done a good job every place that I've been at as far as training goes, and pushing you to move forward.
Big thing that you say there that we talk about on the podcast here many times is I don't have a degree in that area. What you do have is maybe basically an unofficial technical degree in that area. And as we get more back into tech, I mean, not everybody is cut out to go to college 4 years, do this. Yet, like I said yesterday in the talk, it's not what you've done, it's what you do going forward. And that's a huge part, and you just nailed that as part of leadership. I mean, there is no reason that Hannah could not be a CEO of a bank if she wanted to be, because you're learning the entire industry, and it depends on how much you're willing to study and how much you're willing to invest in your own future to get that done. But just because somebody doesn't have a degree, we shouldn't pigeonhole them into an area and say, yeah. So don't
Experience is a lot of it.
ever play yourself down for not having that degree. You kind of a little bit, I'm coaching again.
Right.
You kind of a little bit said, I don't have a degree.
I don't.
Be proud of, I've got a great education.
Yeah.
I've been hands-on education. So
Yeah, absolutely.
So you
Thanks.
keep that positiveness
On the
going.
job training is a lot.
That's really how you learn most of it. I mean, you can sit in a classroom or you can, be taught all day long, but until you get there and you're actually facing what you're fixing to do and how you're doing your job, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah. And how did you get involved in the banking industry?
I actually had a similar experience.
Save a lot?
It was actually Publix, but I worked in Publix when I was in high school, and Publix is a great company.
Yes, it is.
I really enjoyed it, but again, it was the hours and the shift work, and it was one of those things that it's hard to kind of have a life, and if you want to have a family, it's one of those things that you can do it and make those sacrifices, but it's not something I was willing to do. But I was going to school for business, and I knew I wanted to get in the business field, so I started looking for jobs in banking and started off as a teller and worked my way up. And
That's awesome.
it's what I
So
what
you're
I
a
did.
Florida UF grad.
I'm going to school at Florida right now. I have my AA, and I took several years off. So I'm finishing my bachelor's right now. So
Congratulations.
thank you.
Yeah, that is great. Yeah, you mentioned Publix. Two of my stepdaughters worked at Publix, and one of my colleagues spent a good portion of his career at Publix. And you said lifestyle. Publix or that industry becomes your lifestyle.
It does.
You know, and you've
does.
got to be willing. It's not like it's a huge change of lifestyle. You're willing to do that. You work your life around
You adapt.
what that is,
Yeah.
because it is crazy. I mean, it's really crazy. Now, the managers, they do real well in their lives. You know, I was talking to a gentleman that was like the produce manager in Volano Beach, and I mean, he makes great money.
Yeah.
Yet, what is the sacrifice are you willing to make for that money? You know,
I have
Which is-
a best friend that I went to community college with him, and he worked with me when I was in high school, you know, after high school, and he ended up moving, and he's now a store manager in Tallahassee. You know, he moved with Publix and everything else, and he loves it. Like, he bleeds green, as they say. Like, that's Publix is his thing, but he adapted. You know, that's just for some people, but
So yesterday at the luncheon, at the Leadership Lake City luncheon that I had a pleasure to be able to speak to you both at, your mother was there.
Yes.
And I told your mom that I was going to talk about her.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about your mom here for a second.
All right.
What did you learn about leadership from your mom?
She never gave up. She always kept moving forward. She's been through a lot, you know, so it doesn't matter if it was, you know, a job or her kids getting, you know, making her go stir crazy. She never gave up, and she's got a heart of gold. She's a really good, genuine person who would truly do anything for you. But that to me is something to look up to. She goes in with a positive mindset with everything. You know, she has to calm me and my sister down sometimes, you know, because we're like, oh no, and she's like, listen, give them the benefit of the doubt, or just see where they're coming from, kind of thing. So, and she, in that aspect, she looks at both sides. You know, she's like, see it from their point of view. I see where you're coming from, but let's look at it, you know, from both sides. And she's always been very determined, and she stands up for herself, and she's very just a really good person to look up to in really all of those aspects.
So when you look at her as a shining light in your leadership world, the attributes that you see in her, that you see in leaders like in the bank or in other industries, what are they? That you said, like a positive attitude, and what other things that you would look for in a leader, or you would like to possess as a leader?
Encouragement. She's also very encouraging. You know, she doesn't let negativity get to her if she's surrounded by it. You know, she holds her head high. She's always really been mine and my sister's biggest cheerleaders. You know, she asked me or told me yesterday, you know, thank you for letting me be your +1 to, you know, to the graduation.
Wow.
So that's just a really, really good things that if I were to look for in a manager, you know, someone who supports me in anything that I want to do, you know, and someone who encourages me to do better, someone who has that positive mindset. And I try and, you know, do that in my day-to-day life. You know, of course, there are things that'll get you down with work or this or that, you know, but if you go in with a positive mindset, you know, kind of how we talked about in our classes and things like that, like it can really help you in the long run, you know, not letting certain things get you down.
Yeah, that's kind of cool that you did that for your mom being your plus one.
Yeah, yeah.
And you probably won't appreciate that as much as it is worth until your kids
Yeah, absolutely.
include you as that plus one. I can tell you, as we were walking in here today to start the podcast, my son was sending me texts. I have not read them yet because I was in podcast mode. I haven't read them yet, but getting notes, random from your children is incredible. So, that's...
She went to we have our Life 360 on, and we're all on a group message, me, her, and my sister, and she wasn't answering the phone. She wasn't at home. We live right next to each other, and I'm texting. I'm like, where is mom? Like, has anybody seen her? And my sister's like, well, I've called her twice. She's not answering. And so I'm like zooming in on her location. And I was like, oh, here she is. And she was like, yeah, I just got done. I said, well, you got to let people know. What are you doing? You can't just wander off. Like, it's funny.
So what did you learn about leadership in your household growing up?
I think determination, and hard work. And that, if you put your mind to do something, then, you can do it. As long as you have a goal in mind, then, you can do it.
Work ethic is important, leading by example.
Yep.
Okay. What is that? I don't know how I would want to ask you that question, but is that enough, or does there need to be an emotional component to that to help the psyche side of it? Or I mean, can you really lead? Do you think you can really lead by just being a shining example of work ethic? I don't know the answer to that question, by the way.
No. I think there's definitely more to that. You have to, it's not just hard work. You have to definitely have, honesty, empathy, trust. There's way more to that. But I don't think you can have honesty, empathy, trust, and not have hard work.
So every arrow has a point, but there's so much to the arrow. There's the little feathers, and there's the head of the arrow, and everything else is the shaft of the arrow. But every arrow has that point. And for you were saying that work ethic is that point, but there's so much more that goes with it. Right?
Yeah.
That's interesting. What else did you like? Live Oak is a small little sleepy town where you grew up. Makes Lake City look like the big city, right? And what did you learn about Live Oak, about leadership, growing up in and around Live Oak?
I was just a very determined child, I guess, from the time I was able to walk, I guess, and then on through my childhood. And when I was 15, the day I could get a job, I was getting a job. Like,
wow. Okay.
I was always determined that I was going to be self-sufficient. I was going to I was going to carry my own. And so I've just kind of carried that forward, I guess. And so that's just, and maybe you can call that stubbornness. I'm not sure. But
was it?
And
what drove that? What was it? The community? Was it teachers? Was there somebody that you admired, or was it?
I think because I seen my mom do that, and my mom was always she was a determined person. Like, she was, hardworking. She was, self-sufficient. She was the same way. And I kind of put that into my leadership as, hardworking and determined. But like I said, you can't just have that quality. You have to have the other qualities to kind of push that along. So
that's interesting. I like that. We're going to take a break here in a moment, and we'll come back. And when we come back, I want to tackle that subject a little bit more. Talk about leadership, Lake City. and what you learned in there, and what are some of the concepts that you'll carry on going forward. You're listening to Motivation U, the podcast, coming to you live from Spurrier's Gridiron Grill inside the Coach's Podcast Room.
We still hear it. The sound of victory. The joy of being part of something great. And while things may not be the same right now, we haven't gone anywhere. If you bleed orange and blue, then Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Looking for more reasons to celebrate? We have them here at Celebration Point. Enjoy some of the newest additions to our already celebratory lineup, like Dave & Buster's, Les Macarons, and Prime and Pearl. There's always a reason to celebrate. Join us anytime for any occasion. Celebration Point, where Gators come to celebrate.
Welcome back to Motivation U, the podcast. My name is Bob Ganzak, and we're coming live from Spurrier's Gridiron Grill inside the Coach's Podcast Room here at Celebration Point. And with me, Brooke Meng Hannah Levesque. They have not been to Spurrier's yet, and they will come back to it for dinner or visiting Visors, the upstairs bar, which I'll take you up there when we're to give you a little tour of the place. But Celebration Point, Svein Dirkelbotten's company has developed this, and Svein's an awesome guy, UF graduate, played basketball there, an engineering student.
That's awesome.
And this whole place is just, I mean, when you look around, you saw the downstairs, it's just absolutely incredible.
It's amazing.
I've had people that, I'm from Michigan originally, and I've had friends of mine that I've talked about this on the podcast so much, and they watch the podcast, that when they're traveling down, they've stopped at exit 384, gotten off and gone to Spurrier's and had dinner, which, it's just a great restaurant. I do not get here enough. It's a wonderful place. Plus, there's a lot of nice little stores, and there's another restaurant across the way. But, it's just a community that is really cool with a big movie theater next door. So people don't see this. And they're building an athletic complex.
We were just talking about that. I was wondering what that was.
That will be a huge part of what's going to happen in Alachua County.
Oh, yeah.
And it'll be connected with, on a distant way, with the University of Florida, where they have the ability to do events there.
Okay.
And it'll be basketball and volleyball and a ton of sports. There'll be stores around it and restaurants, plus this huge inside athletic facility that high schools could use. The state can use it for championship games and different events that go on. So it'll be something really good.
That's awesome.
Plus they're building another parking tower down on that end so that you can handle all the parking that goes on.
I'm sure they're needing
busy,
that.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you guys will enjoy this immensely as it gets better. So back to leadership.
Cool. Yeah.
Back to leadership. So talk to me about Leadership Lake City. How did you get involved in it? And what was your expectations going in, and what did you take away from it? Start with you, Hannah. Go ahead.
So my boss presented it to me, said that, hey, I think this would be a really good thing for you guys. He presented to all three of us, and I was super hesitant. I was like, I like to be by myself. I don't really know about being in a large group and getting out and doing this, but he was like, that's why I want you to do it,
Yeah.
So he definitely pushed me to do it. And of course it made me feel comfortable that, a few of my coworkers were doing it as well. So I think it was very good. You learn a lot about what is going on in the community. I would have never been interested, honestly, or known anything about anything that we learned. They definitely took you back, showing you, the infrastructure of things, the business side of things. We had a lot of volunteers that let us tour on site and things like that. And it was really good for the leaders, in the community. There were people from everywhere, just to get together and hear everybody's story, hear what everybody did, make friends, really good friendships. And, it's good to have those people kind of in the back of your mind. If you're like, oh, hey, I need something. Well, I went to the class with this person, and I've, to build those relationships. And for me, I think it was really good. It kind of brought me out of my shell a little bit more. So I really, really enjoyed it.
Because we're talking Miss Introvert, Miss Extrovert kind of here in this group. So
Yeah.
of the places you visited, which one was your favorite and why?
Ooh. I really liked Hayco, and we went to the water treatment plant also. That one was really interesting.
I've done training for both the water treatment
Yes.
people and for HACO. A lot of HACO, probably over 100, maybe 150 of their employees
Oh wow.
trained in my past.
We walked into the training room of the water treatment plant, and there were all kinds of like numbers and parts per million on the wall and things, and I was like,
A lot that keeps your water clean.
a lot.
Yeah.
And the gentleman that toured us around, and he was very educated with it, and he was like, he could tell you anything about it, and so that was really neat, because you just think, okay, I'm getting water, but then you really don't see what all that goes into it and everything that they've got to keep up with. And I think you said there's only 9 of them, I want to say, that do it all themselves. So
Very small crew.
Very small crew, and the amount of work that those guys put in, it's just unbelievable. Yeah.
So how did you get involved in Leadership Lake City, and what was your thought process going in?
I received an email from the chamber, just the chamber emails that go out, and it was talking about Leadership Lake City, and I was like, oh, I want to do this. So that's how I initially wanted to get involved, and so I think that's when our boss had mentioned something to them too, and so that's how that all got started. Going into it, I thought it would be, a good experience as far as getting to know people and network and just kind of, learn more about Lake City. As far as what I learned, it was very eye-opening. There was just so much that I learned about all the different parts and departments and different sectors, and that I just had no idea about. And it was overwhelming, but in a good way. I think my favorite, as far as the information, it's hard to choose, really. I really like the tourism development.
That was interesting.
Because there was so much information about, how the county gets their grants and how they fund everything, and
Their plans, like for what
Yeah.
to do,
Did
things
you
like
get to
that. It
meet
was
with their
awesome.
team, Paula?
yes, it was
Yeah.
Paula that
Yeah, it was
presented to us.
Yeah, she
Awesome
was
group
great.
of people.
Yeah,
Awesome
it
group
was-
of people.
It was very cool.
That was very interesting. So she was awesome. That was one of my favorites. But then I also really liked Core Civic.
I forgot we went there. Yes.
I know
Hey,
there
I
was
forgot
so
we went
much.
there. Yeah, there was a lot.
That just knowing everything that they do there and did there.
And who is that?
That's the private
prison.
prison for 18 to 24-year-olds.
Okay.
Just learning everything that they do there and finding out that it's really not what you would think.
And they have a lot of programs for
Yes.
those inmates also. They be barber shops, auto mechanics, just all kinds of different things for those inmates that you wouldn't think, I don't guess. You know, you're like, I'm walking into a prison, you know, they're not gonna do anything for these inmates. They're not gonna help them better themselves whenever they get onto the outside world, but just learning, they gave us a whole packet on everything that they do, and it was really cool.
That was very interesting and eye-opening. The water treatment plant was very
It
interesting.
was just crazy. That was so crazy.
So you have one of my favorite people in the world. I picked on him yesterday, but as your sheriff,
Oh, yeah.
Sheriff Mark Hunter, just a gentleman that I really admire and just an awesome guy. What was it like learning about the sheriff's office? And you see, Sheriff, I did not say department. He gets on me because I always say department, and it's the sheriff's office.
Sheriff's
So
department.
he makes sure that.
Well, Major Dix was the one that gave the presentation.
Dale Carnegie graduate, by the way.
Yes.
Oh my
Yes,
gosh,
yes, she
it's
is.
everywhere.
Yes, it is.
Unfortunately, I think
goodness.
Sheriff Hunter had a funeral that day, so he wasn't able to be there. But Major Dix was there. That was also very interesting, just learning about how they are, the different equipment and everything they're updating, and about their department, and also just not only them, but the police department, how they are, the programs they offer if you want to be, it's I think it's called a sponsorship
Program almost. Yeah.
through the college. So it was interesting, just different things they offer that,
Just
we
see
weren't.
everything that they're working on in the background, you know, because
Yeah.
we as civilians, as a community, you know, we don't see we can have all of these opinions, you know, but then whenever you actually listen to the background of it and things that everything that they're trying to implement to improve, you know, their offices, their departments, and things like that, it's really cool, and it kind of makes you take a step back almost.
We're talking about Lake City, Florida, a city of, how many people is in Lake City now? I mean,
I know we were told, but I can't remember.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
growing. We can say
I
that.
mean, to take a guess, what would you guess it at?
I don't even know.
20,000?
20,
15?
23,
23,000?
26,
Maybe, yeah.
I think.
Yet the things that you learn there, as far as leadership and civic direction, can be found in major cities, every place. The blueprint is pretty much the same. That, of course, the problems and the challenges are compounded by the amount of people. But I've always found it interesting about Lake City is the play between the police department and the sheriff's office. And when Chief Gilmore was there, and the respect that her and Sheriff Hunter had for each other.
They work so closely
And
together.
It was like a lesson in leadership. That was just really cool to see, from that standpoint. So what will you take, either of you or both of you, going forward out of what you learned over those 8 weeks? What is going to be your driving force going forward that you'll take away from that
I think for
experience?
me, probably try to get more involved, just because there was so much that I didn't know, wasn't aware of. So just kind of broaden my horizon a little bit, network with some more people, get myself out there a little bit more, and be involved in the community more, read more about what's going on, attend a city hall meeting, things like that. So just kind of branch out a little bit more than I have before.
How about you, Brooke?
I definitely want to make sure that I keep those connections that I started and build on those, because we had a great class. I think they said it was one of the biggest classes
Yeah.
that they had so far.
Yeah, we had a really good time.
They were, the members in the class, they were all awesome. I want to make sure I keep those connections and build with them. And also just, make sure that I take those, leadership skills that I learned and build on those and apply it to, not only every day in my job, but every day in my life, so that I can be a better person, leader, and mentor.
That's cool. On my Facebook page yesterday, I posted a picture from the event, and it like just exploded. And, all of a sudden, I was hearing from Rona and Katie and George, and so your group, they were all connecting there. What are some of those connections that you made? We had a great session. The second one, well, both of them I thought were great, but I'm a little prejudiced on that. But the second one, when we did those defining moment talks, so impactful.
Was.
That all of you reached down and really told some incredible stories. What type of connections did you see from that event that day with other people in your group?
I think it let us all not just connect on a professional level, but a personal level, because you were able to see that person as an actual individual and an actual person.
Right.
So, like the person wasn't just a real estate agent or a banker or, whatever the case may have been.
It's like
They
the
were
whole
a
iceberg
father,
thing.
they were a husband, they were a sister, a brother, they were, a person. And so you can always connect with a person better when you can see them that way than just, whatever they are in their everyday job. So I think that, was when we were able to connect a lot more.
That's good.
Yeah, I
That's
agree.
good. Was it D? Is it
Yes.
D?
I
He
know.
was, yeah.
I still think back to that talk he gave, and I'm like,
I know.
It just like opened my eyes, and I'm very fortunate. I get to hear dozens and dozens of those talks every single month, because I
He's
do
such a
that
great person.
all the time. And then when you see something like that, and some people, and I'm not talking about your class or either of you, but some people mail in their talk. It's like they just do what's ever safe. They don't reach inside and go, okay, let me see what I got inside of me and what can I
Right.
do. He did.
Absolutely.
He like, here's my soul.
Yeah.
I'm going to bear it to you in the next 2 minutes, and hope that you like it.
Yes.
Which was just fascinating from that standpoint.
great.
It was.
What other things that you will take from leadership? Who are some of the individuals, the people that impacted your life over that 8-week journey?
I think that he's probably one of them. D, he did, it's kind of like the iceberg thing. You see just what's on top, and you don't ever see what's on the bottom until
Where'd
somebody.
you learn that?
Probably on Facebook or something.
Okay.
I don't know. But you don't. You only see what's on the surface. So like Brooke was saying, you really get deep down with these people, and you can make that type of connection, not just on the professional level, on the personal level too. So I think and I only got to hear everybody's stories who was just in our group, but just hearing that from people, and really everybody made an impact, because everybody was able to. They actually did it. They didn't just, I'm just going to say, whatever to make you happy or to make you, stop talking about it. Everybody, and that I kind of admired. Everybody was in that class, and they were like, we're doing this for a reason. We're going to dig deep, and we're going to tell our stories, and I think that said a lot for me, just hearing everybody really get raw kind of. So it was nice.
So go ahead.
One person that now we were talking about the water treatment plant, the instructor that, took us around,
Yes.
Mike Osborne, I believe is his name. I'm pretty sure. he has, I think, a small crew of like 9.
Yeah.
He said that whole crew does everything from the lawn maintenance to painting the buildings to all of the work as far as the water,
Wow.
like
Yep.
everything.
Everything.
Treating
Painting,
the water.
mowing the grass.
everything.
Everything, and it's only him and his crew.
To me, that is an example of a great leader because he leads that crew and keeps all of them in line. Everything.
Yeah, that was.
I
That was
just,
really good.
I think that's,
Just kind of stuck with you.
yeah, that,
And it's also, I look at that as civic responsibility too. You have the time, you have the manpower. It might not be in the job description,
Right.
but they're not spending taxpayers' money to, hire some lawn service to come in and do the work. And, this is our project and we're all doing it.
Right.
And as a visual, like I explained to you guys, the mind works in pictures. As a visual, that's something that we all can incorporate into our personal lives
Right.
too, which is kind of interesting from that standpoint. So, in your life, either of you, what leader in your life have you learned the most from? Who is it that impacts your life on a daily basis today because something they taught you over the years as far as leadership is concerned?
that's a tough one.
I'll share with you, because maybe it'll spur your thought going forward. My 9th grade football coach, who commented on the
picture.
post that I put yesterday, he probably had the biggest impact on my life. I'm hoping to get him in here to be
Oh, cool.
on the podcast, but he was my 9th grade football coach that just had a huge impact on my life and still does to this day. I mean, we've stayed close over the years and just, is always positive, always looking at the bright side, always that everything he sends to you, he ends with go, go, go. That's how if he writes you a note, go, 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 go all the
Look at that.
time, because that's just his attitude. So is there somebody in your world, a teacher, first boss, that you will remember that'll have an impact on your life, and why?
When I was first hired at Columbia Bank, like I said previously, they took a chance on me. I had no banking experience, all I had was the cash handling, and I was 18 years old, I want to say at the time. They had actually hired someone over me because she did have banking experience. Turns out she didn't really work out, so I was next on the list. And she was an assistant branch manager at the time, but she was a part of interviewing me, and she vouched for me. She was like, I think that I like her. Let's see what she's got. We can, she doesn't have any experience, but we can kind of mold her into what we want, kind of. And I was fortunate enough she was my boss for probably about 2 years or so, and she had a really kind heart, but she would definitely put me in my place if I needed to be put in my place. And we called her Mama T. She was the mother hen to all of us. We had a very tight-knit group at the branch that I started at. And she was always encouraging everybody. She was always supporting all of us. So if I did had to, she really helped me out with that.
And so
I
you
leaned
carry
her
that
a
on
lot.
yourself.
I still remember her. She commented on my mom's picture actually yesterday, and she was like, I'm so proud of you. You still make me so proud. So we still try and talk whenever we see each other and things like that, because we're in different places in our life. But she's really a memorable person to me.
Somebody in your world.
It's one of my previous bosses. She was at another institution until she moved to Ocala, so she's not in Lake City anymore. But she was like a second mom to me. And she kind of, took me under her wing, and she was always very encouraging and, pushed me to be better. But she was always there for support and, encouragement, and just helped me get to where I am.
That's interesting. So those traits that you pick up, a lot of the encouragement for both of you, because one of the principles in Dale Carnegie is make the fault seem easy to correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yet so many times as young employees, we make a mistake and we are shot down so quickly, that we never recover from that. And when a leader helps them make like the fault is easy to correct, it gives you that encouragement to get
Right.
past that.
Yeah.
Which is such a big part of it. So because many times, like if you have people that are subordinates in the future, or you do, many times they're doing what you used to do.
Mm-hmm.
And for us to think that we never made a mistake.
Yeah, you can't do that.
but when we can talk about our own mistakes,
Right.
before you correct that other person, and say, hey, I've been there, I've done this. That's such a huge thing to,
I agree.
same as children. I mean, our kids grow up, but we were kids one time too.
Right.
We
Yep.
did the same things,
Yep.
So
She would always tell me it's always fixable, because typically in banking, it's when you make a mistake, it's always something that can be fixed one way or another.
Yep.
So I've kind of passed that on, when I'm training somebody or helping somebody. I'm like, if you make a mistake, we can fix it. So
You don't want to
even
shoot
the
somebody
biggest
while they're already
mistakes,
down.
Yeah.
I was reading a story the other day about something about a project that we were doing that had to do with Mars, and a lack of communication that cost the country $300 billion. Part of the team was working in inches, and part of the team was working like in millimeters. And when they did all that, they never communicated with each other. And when it all came together, they had to go back and scrap it and start over again, which was the huge part of that.
Oh, wow.
I wonder what that leader, how they handled that
Right?
situation with the team, But like I said yesterday, in the book Good to Great, when Jim Collins talks about, a fifth level leader, one part of it is when things go wrong, the leader needs to look in the mirror and say, hey, I could have done a better job here. Yet when the team, just like this room here that we're sitting in, imagine sitting in here and watching your team do great,
Right.
and that's the way you're looking out the window at how great, and it's not about me, it's them, which is a big part. So, I wonder, so what is going to be your mantra as a leader going forward? Just think about that. We have about 2 minutes to go. So what do you want people to remember Hannah Levesque for as far as leadership?
I think encouragement, really. Encouragement, and there's a fine line in between, being their friend and being their boss. But I think that if you learn to, manage that, then you'll be okay. I try and implement now, like the mistakes. Trust me, I've been there. Like we can fix it. Don't fret. That's what I'm here for. Please come to me if you need anything, things like that. So, because that's what I would want, and that's kind of how my previous and current leaders have been towards me. So I just want them to continue to always have that open door, always encourage them to be better for themselves, do better, not do better. I'm sorry, that was to just encourage them to be the best that they can be,
Cool.
the best that they can be.
Brooke?
I want to be approachable, and I want them to know that, it's okay to fall, that we're all a team, and, we're growing and learning together, and we're all reaching towards the same goal, and,
Approachable, encourage, communication, transparency, those type
Yep.
of things that are really important. I appreciate the two of you being here with us
Yeah.
today.
Thank you.
This
It
has
was
been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And we'll have to do it again
Yes.
and talk about leadership after Seacoast
Yeah.
takes over and move forward. Maybe get Mike in here at some
yeah,
time too.
that would be
cool.
Because
Yeah.
he lives down the street a
That's
little bit
right.
here.
Yep.
That would be fun.
Tammy, I promise you, our producer, Tammy Wynn, I promise you that next time I will encourage people to send us questions. I forget that all the time. I forget that all the time. And I apologize for not doing that. But it's been wonderful. Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, inside the Coaches Podcast Room. For Jason, Tammy, our producers, thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.